into the storm like this. And we start to bow out and kind of have what's called a gust front here. As that cold pull strengthens, because it gets all of this rain-cooled air that's fueling it and then pushing it backwards. And then that just fuels the storms forwards, and they start to bow out. And that gust front is where we start to get those really damaging winds. So I have another video here that I can show you. being rated EF3, EF4, EF5 in terms of their damage. For tornado safety, um, if you happen to be driving on the road when you see a tornado, it is best to get off the road and drive to a designated shelter, basement, safe room, something like that. The next best option, if you for whatever reason don't have a basement, is a small windowless room, either or a hallway on the lowest floor of a sturdy building, so your home, for example. What not to do: don't seek shelter or refuge in a vehicle or outside or under an overpass. Um, Highway overpass does not provide safety from a tornado. In fact, we've seen tornadoes that can rip through an overpass. They can cause damage to it. It can potentially collapse onto cars that go underneath of it, and wind can funnel underneath of here, making it extremely dangerous for wind damage as well. And also, do not seek shelter under trees or on top of an overpass. Those are just you're completely exposed at that point, so definitely not smart. And then this is just another kind of guideline that we issue and kind of put out on social media, especially for people to see exactly where the good options are to seek shelter in a tornado, and then what your worst possible options are. So your best option would be above or below ground tornado shelter, whereas your worst option would be vehicles, mobile homes, or underneath a highway overpass. So here's just some information about tornadoes within Albany, within our county warning area. So the number of tornadoes, this first graph is the number of tornadoes per year from 1980 to 2023. So we've had a total of 124 tornadoes in that time. And then most tornadoes in our area typically occur in the late spring and summer, and they're generally on the lower intensity scale, as I stated earlier. About 88% of the tornadoes that we experience tend to be EF0, so about 65 to 85 miles per hour winds, for example, or maybe EF1, so about 86 to 110 miles per hour. Um, so this map just shows all of the different tornado tracks that we have had from 1950 to 2022. So as you can see, yes, most of these are these EF0s, maybe some EF1s, but we do have some EF2s, EF3s, and even some EF4s. So it's definitely possible. It's just on the rarer side. But again, because we have a history of getting them, and even the EF1s and EF0s, they can still cause damage. So it's definitely a possibility, even though it might not be as common. So we definitely want to make sure that everybody stays safe during that time. So I'm sure all of y'all are sick of me talking at you. So we're going to take a little break. But first, before we kind of pause, does anybody have any questions so far? Yeah.
You, the screen that you just showed with the EF3 and EF4, what terrain were they in? Were they new here? Or is there a specific terrain where they are prevalent, or are they just,
Just kind of, yeah. Yeah, so some of our EF4s, this one was in kind of like the Schoharie Valley area. This one had ended up kind of near the Taconic Berkshires area, and then the other one was also in Massachusetts. So typically more so in valley areas in and around here, but it's certainly possible. Up this way there have been some spin-ups that have been that EF1 and EF0 category. So it's kind of sprawled all over our forecast area, but we definitely don't have as many reported as being up in, say, the western Adirondacks, even portions of the Catskills. So more in valley areas, I would say, is where we tend to get them. Up here. Yeah.
Back to the hail portion of it. What's the difference between hail and sleet?
Sure. So that's an excellent question. So hail is specifically a thunderstorm precipitation form.
problem, and sometimes it's actually like frozen coated snowflakes. There could be a snowflake that's white, sometimes it's a little bit white. Because it is also like a little ball of ice, of water that kind of freezes around it, but there actually could be a snowflake inside of it, so that's what kind of gives it a little bit of a white appearance.
Anything else? Alright, so take about 5 minute break,
Yeah.
5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, so for anybody who came in later, we have a sign-in sheet if you want to just sign up
Oh,
quickly,
yeah.
and get your certificates, and then any door service ready to go, take your...
They got a registration form, the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's all 90.
It's a little bit thick.
Oh, yeah, I had a sign sheet.
So this is a little bit more of a quicker, the second half is a little bit quicker. We'll pretty much go into heat and then talk a little bit about rainfall, and then we'll pretty much summarize with why you guys are here and why you can report your information to us. Beforehand, I'll say it's great that I had the opportunity to come to Discover Falls with you because I am born and raised in this area. My family lives in Philly, so I'm not that far away. My house is like 3 miles down the road.
Is Benny
So,
your brother?
what's that?
Is Benny your brother?
Yes, it is.
I knew I would.
There you go.
I kept looking at you like,
I mean, hey,
I know
what's
this.
that, right? There we are. All right. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so we will get into heat next. So the main thing we're going to talk about is the difference between a heat advisory and an excessive heat warning. So again, the heat index that the International Weather Service uses is a combination of temperature plus humidity, so how much moisture in the air or how sticky the air really feels. So at this graph here, the very top temperature, very top part, you can see this is the temperature in Fahrenheit. On the left, top row, you can see the difference in the relative humidity. So when you do a difference between the two numbers, you can kind of correlate to what the heat index or what it actually feels outside. So just to do an example here, let's say it's 90 degrees outside right now. Relative humidity is 65%, so if you find the number in the chart, the heat index value would be 103 Fahrenheit. So that's what it'll actually feel outside when combining those two features. So with a heat advisory, if you'll issue a heat advisory, we expect the heat index value to be greater than or equal to 95 degrees for at least 2 hours. So that's the criteria for New York and Vermont. Massachusetts and Connecticut have slightly different criteria. You have to have heat index values of 95 or 99 degrees for 2 consecutive days, or just any heat index value of 100 to 104 for any duration for any specific day. That is just pretty much a state requirement of what they prefer for heat indices. Area-wide, for excessive heat warning, if you have a heat index value greater than 105 degrees or more, that's when we would be issuing an excessive heat warning instead. So some of the safety tips with heat: don't ever forget anybody in the hot car. It's sad that we still hear of pets, babies, whatever, dying in the vehicle. They forget that they're in the vehicle, they die from heat. So this is just some of the things that you can do just to try to keep yourself aware of that. They say sometimes place a bag or other item in your back seat to remind you of other passengers where you park. Some actually put a stuffed animal in the front seat and buckle it in, so when you see the stuffed animal in the front seat, it can be a reminder, oh, I actually have a pet or a child or something in the back seat, so you have to take care of them or take them out of the vehicle when you leave. Or just consider just any other type of message, just a phone alarm to remind you or whatnot. But yeah, unfortunately, we always hear of child or pets dying in hot vehicles every single year. Also, it's important to know the differences between heat exhaustion and heat stroke. This is the graphic here on the right. So if there's some faintness or dizziness that you're feeling, that could be a sign of heat exhaustion. Cool, pale, or clammy skin, muscle cramps, for example. Heat strokes, could you have a throbbing headache? Maybe you just aren't sweating at all. Or if your body temperature can rise above a certain threshold, say 103 degrees, then you could actually develop heat stroke. And again, whenever you have any of these, try to take some precautions, or if worse comes to worse, just dial 911 and just have some paramedics come in and help treat you guys. That was very quick about heat. So now we'll go into some rainfall, flooding, and flash flooding, which is again another hazard that happens during the summer season. This graph just shows the number of flood fatalities that happen per year across the entire United States. You can see they vary from year to year. Majority of the fatalities the roadway, there may not be a road underneath where the water is, or just the water is just flowing so quickly over the roadway that it pretty much washes the vehicle off the road downstream, and then you're pretty much up out of luck at that point. So you can see based on the chart here that on average, maybe about 100 fish or so deaths per year occur from flood fatalities, and again, the majority of them are people driving on flood roads. So there's the difference between a flood and a flash flood. So a flood is just basically any high flow or inundation of water that can cause a ton of damage. So this example here just shows an example of just some kind of slow-moving water flowing underneath a roadway. You can see there are barricades here, so if you need to drive, you should drive this way, not this way. And again, these typically occur slower and more rapidly. Flash flood is when you have some really heavy rainfalls over a short period of time, maybe a rapid or extreme flow or rise in water. Usually in an area that shouldn't flood, so in a lot of cases, roads, parking lots, you name it. That can sometimes require immediate action to protect life and property. So you can see here, this is supposed to be a roadway. You can see the flood water is already up almost into the top of that car's wheels and whatnot. So that is definitely when we need to have, first responders come in and perform water rescues and so on and so forth. We also have other, these are kind of two differences in just generic flooding as well. We sometimes note things as street or drainage flooding. That can just be a period where you have some pretty heavy rainfall over a short period of time. You can just grab and get, just a very small layer of water on top of roadways, but usually they dissipate or move away once the storm quickly ends, mainly just because the storm drains can't handle a certain amount of water for a short period of time, but then when the rain ends, then the storm drains can catch up and any water remaining on the roads just pretty much goes underneath, and then in a short period of time, your road is just back to normal. River flooding can take a little bit longer, especially for those that live in a river flood prone area, where you have just a rapid rise in water and the river overflows its banks, causes flooding anywhere downstream of the river. That can usually take either a short time or it could last for quite a few days until the river eventually crests, and then eventually the water will eventually kind of move away. And again, when flooded, turn around. That's our main motto. The Weather Prediction Center issues these what's called excessive rainfall outlooks. So similar to the severe weather outlooks from the Storm Prediction Center, these categories kind of highlight the potential for flash flooding. So again, they have a similar type of categories with the severe weather. So if they have no area or label or if it just shows nothing on the map, pretty much we're not generally expecting any flash flooding during a certain event. And then again, you have a marginal, slight, moderate, and high risk. They don't have enhanced, but these basically highlight the increased potential for some flash flooding. In this example here, this is September 1st, 2021. You can see actually we had a high risk or basically greater than 50% chance for flash flooding within 25 miles of the point within this high-risk area. This is looking across southeastern New York. While it didn't impact too much of our region, this map is actually the excessive rainfall outlook from Ida, Hurricane Ida, when it eventually came up here and produced devastating flooding down across Pennsylvania, down into southeastern New York and New York State. So some flash flood safety. Don't underestimate the power of water. That's why I always say if you see water over a roadway, especially rapidly moving water over roadways, don't give it a shot to try to drive through it. 6 inches of fast-moving water is enough to knock over and carry away an adult. 12 inches is enough to actually move a small car off the road. And unfortunately, we did have one flood fatality we have no video of last year. Actually, I think it was over the winter time where somebody actually, again, drove over a barricade and then ended up going right into an area of fast-moving water and ended up drowning to death. 18 to 24 inches, if you have a big truck, you can get away with everything, but no, even 18 or 24 inches of water can actually move away, most large SUVs, vans, and trucks too. So even if you have a big truck or whatnot, if there's enough water, it can wash the car right off the roadway. Flooding at night is definitely very dangerous because you can see the water over the roadway, but again, you don't know how deep it is. This is an example of a map after collecting all of our rainfall observations. Some of these from our trained scholars. You can see that there definitely was a bullseye in the Western Mohawk Valley. Into the Adirondacks, there's some pretty heavy rain. Some totals upwards of 7 inches of rain in parts of Hamilton County. This produced quite a bit of flooding, quite a bit of river flooding. Here's some of the images on the right just showing some of the roads getting washed out. And we did have a fatality that happened in Newport due to a person being swept away by floodwaters in a vehicle again. This is just an example of some of the reports that we received on this day. So anything here highlighted in green is basically a flood or a flash flood report that we received. We also have some more of the yellowish icons. It's kind of hard to see those, but those are basically some either thunderstorm wind gusts or some damage occurring from thunderstorm winds during that. On the right, this shows some of the water levels or how high the rivers reached during this event. A few of them reached the record flood stage, so the highest level that it's ever reached, at least recorded. Some of them did occur in kind of parts of the Mohawk Valley and Adirondacks once again. So here are just a couple of the hydrographs just kind of showing how high some of the water reached. This is talking about the river at Hope. You can see it's just, definitely fine due to all that heavy rain. It rose to a height of about 12.26 feet, which is above major flood stage and above the previous record, which was only 12.0. And then the same thing with the Mohawk River with the falls, that also reached a record crest a couple of times actually. So it rose up and then it actually rose once again. So this unfortunately was a video, but I can just kind of summarize this very quickly. This is actually from News Channel 2. This is just kind of highlighting this certain event that actually happened when we had some water rescues that happened in the village of Daleville. So they actually had all these emergency managers with boats actually taking these boats going down the flooded roads and whatnot, trying to get to people's houses. These people's houses were just completely surrounded by high water. So they definitely got them to safety, and luckily with that, nobody got injured from that event. Actually, I put the wrong date, but this was last year, having a feature. August 24, 2023, so last summer, in Whitehall, New York. I'm not going to predict the future, but no. So this was a flash flood that actually happened in Whitehall, New York. So this is up in the northern portions of Washington County. And we'll show a radar image quickly, but several inches of rain fell in just a span of a few hours. You can see here, this is the road. This was a car, and you can see so many cars are completely covered by water in just a short period of time. Definitely the Central School of Whitehall also got damaged. Some of these just show some of the inside pictures of some of the damages with water in the auditorium, and then on the far right was a bleacher to these. As you can see, the gym part of their ground just got severely damaged by that. So this was an event, here on the radar look here, you can just see there was basically just like a combination of thunderstorms. There was kind of thunderstorms rained over the same area for a long period of time, producing some very heavy rainfall. And on the right side, you can see is what we used to help kind of get an idea of how much rain has fallen during some of these events. This was the amount of rainfall estimated by radar. So some of the radar estimates were above 6 inches of rain in just a span of a few hours. And we had also a co-op observer just outside of Whitehall that reported 5.85 inches of rain at their house. So definitely if you see some kind of training thunderstorm, something like this, that can definitely be a precursor to some serious flooding that's what happened in this event. Something new that is just going to start coming out from the Weather Service. We were the first 10% of the overall weather services to start this. This is called flood inundation mapping. So this is going to be pretty much the future of how we help our emergency managers and partners really begin to hone in on if flooding happens or if waters are rising at a certain level, what is going to flood, what is not. And this could be down to street level, houses, you name it. So it's going to be much more detailed than what we have been pretty much providing in terms of flooding in general. So for this example here, we're going to use the Hudson River at Fort Edward. So this is a point here statements here that kind of give an idea, okay, what is going to flood. So at 27-ish or 28 feet, you know, we're kind of saying the water's going to be over a concrete wall up toward Yacht Basin. Several homes nearby have water approaching them. That's pretty good for which several homes nearby, which, you know, which ones, for example. And this is what flood mitigation mapping is going to try to do, that it's going to do an estimation that, okay, at 28 feet, a very zoomed in image, anything here colored in red has the potential to flood. So again, this would get down to pretty much a street level. You can see there's some houses here that, okay, these houses here are going to be okay. So this can really help really improve the potential with alerting which places are most in danger, which places should be evacuated, so on and so forth. So this is going to be definitely the future of flooding for national reserves for several years to come. Any questions about any rainfall or flooding or anything? All right. Next we'll go to tropical systems. So we do have tropical systems here. Mostly you get just the kind of the end part of it, which is pretty much the level of the rain part. Usually the wind right of it is pretty much ending by the time they get up here, but definitely they can produce some pretty heavy rainfall. So that is our main impact from these tropical systems, but still some, based on its track, can still produce some, you know, strong and locally damaging winds. And definitely tropical systems can have some pretty big impacts, and they can be felt for several days, especially if there's some prolonged power outages or flooding and so on. So some of our notable tropical events in recent years, I listed here. We had Ida in 2021, if you remember the graphic from earlier showing the high risk persistent rainfall. Isaias in 2020, and then Irene, definitely parts of New England in 2011. So ice storms are not good for us, frankly. And this is just an example list of the names that are going to be used this year by the National Hurricane Center. That is the alphabet that they're pretty much going to be using this year. Something new as of last year. Now our entire county warning area can now basically issue tropical products. Initially, it used to be just Litchfield County, Western Connecticut, and Western Massachusetts. And those are, for example, tropical storm watches, tropical storm warnings. Probably very rarely will we ever have hurricane watches and warnings up here, but definitely tropical storm watches and warnings. That can now be issued for any county in our entire area, including all the way back here in Herkimer County. And also, including us, I think Binghamton and State College initially couldn't issue any tropical storm products as well, but now they have now been upgraded to like a full tropical office, and they can now issue those as well. And the main reason for that is just the overall trend in tropical systems, that some of them are now lasting longer and maybe a little bit stronger, farther bringing them all the way up into the northeast United States based on how the climate is changing. So they have decided to kind of expand the potential to issue tropical watches for offices farther than they used to be just right off at this point. So how this kind of works is that the National Hurricane Center does determine tropical storm and or hurricane watches and warnings for coastal areas. So since we are not a coastal office, we can basically just, after collaboration with other offices in the National Hurricane Center, we can just issue any type of hazards or whatever it is inland that we feel is, you know, is important and requires attention. Any other inland offices that do not issue tropical headlines, and basically now for New York State it's just the Buffalo area, they would just be highlighting the threats for any tropical storm conditions, you know, based on, you know, flip advisories, high wind warnings, and so on and so forth. But for us, we can issue these tropical headlines just to highlight the wind and the rain threat now with anything coming in. Again, I mentioned Ida is the most recent storm that impacted much of our area. Didn't do much here. We're on the very far northern edge here of Herkimer County. You can see a very sharp increase in heavy rainfall down farther to the south, down toward the Mid-Hudson Valley, and then pushing across New York City. Some widespread, 3 to 7 inches of rainfall in that neck of the woods produced some pretty widespread flooding. This was one of the rivers that overflowed its banks, causing some areas to flood out, and then we also had some bridges get washed out too from all the heavy rain down across the Mid-Hudson Valley. Isaias was another one that definitely produced a pretty widespread heavy rain as well, 2 to upwards of maybe 5 or so inches of rain, especially from our places of all 8 points east. Even here across parts of Herkimer County, we picked up around 2 to 2.5 inches of rain from this. This was the one storm that definitely actually maintained a lot of its wind once it got up here, especially kind of from around the capital region down to New York City, pretty widespread gusts of 45 to 70 miles per hour occurred as the center of east Atlantic moved through, producing all the heavy rain and wind. The other last one is Irene, and again, this is definitely one that produced some very significant damage across a lot of parts of New England. This is Route 4 in the state of Vermont. You can see part of it is completely gone. So there's definitely a lot of damage there and a lot of cleanup to do. And then this is just basically a drive-in, like a food snacking place. You can see the floodwaters pretty much got almost up to the kind of windows of that area too. That's a lot of heavy rain, a lot of flooding. All right, so the last section we will do is how to report to us and a little bit of book route, so we are recording at the very end. So this is very important why you're here. You understand a little bit about the meteorologist and the kind of what it types, but how can you report the information to us? So think of the who, what, when, and where. So first, who are you? You can say, hello, I am a trans Scott. If you want to give us your name, that's completely fine. What are you reporting, and be as specific as possible? So for example, I would like to report 2 uprooted pine trees, 6 inches in diameter and healthy. Some of this may seem like it's a lot of information, but that can be very helpful to kind of have us estimate, what the severity or the wind that might be. For example, a healthy tree probably requires a little bit more wind to get knocked down than, let's just say, a rotten tree. A rotten tree, you could probably just push it with your hand and it'll fall over and break apart. So it won't need as much wind to kind of tear apart a rotten tree. When did the event occur? You can say this occurred at 2:45 p.m. I know in a lot of cases, trees may fall down after you notice them. That's completely okay. If you weren't sure at the time, that's okay to let us know. Usually you can go back to what our radar meter is and kind of get a more accurate time as to when that most likely occurred. And then where? Where did the event occur? You can say at the intersection of Main Street and Route 23. If the tree fell in your house, you don't have to give us your exact address. If you're not comfortable with it, that's completely fine. You can just say the street name or a nearest intersection or whatnot. That's completely fine. And then after you do so, and if you want to send pictures, that's completely fine too. Pictures tell 1,000 words of past damage. And then when we do get all this information, we can submit a storm report, and then your report will get posted online as basically a storm report. So what to report in terms of thunderstorms? So again, we have wind, hail, tornadoes are kind of the main threat. So again, with wind, if trees fell, what is the diameter? What's the height of the tree? I'm not expecting you to climb a tree to measure it.